Hey Kelly, how you doing? Welcome to 360 Yourself. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Thanks for having me.
Great. We are the day after, I have to obviously mention this just for timestamp. We obviously the day after Trump has been elected as president. So there is some sad, weird energy around in the world at this moment in time. But we're not going to get too much into politics. But I always like to do it like just an update where we are on timestamp. But
We've been
where
here
yeah.
before, haven't we? We felt the same feeling yesterday
Yes.
morning as we did however many years ago, and the same feeling, when we woke up and we'd left the European Union.
Yeah, it's
Such
just
this, isn't it?
when Brexit did happen, I was just deeply saddened by how many people wanted that. And
Yeah.
then the same thing for Donald Trump winning. I was so deeply saddened that people go, they wanted that as well. And I'm like, oh, because I can't understand it. I mean, I think that's the whole
Um,
point, maybe, is that's why you have opposition sides, because some people can't understand the opposition. But
you can't understand, but we can't, if we do believe in democracy, we have to accept the outcome as we did with Brexit, and we have to think about the future and we have to think about what we can do the next time round. So there's no point
yes,
giving up.
indeed
So it's
so.
tempting.
Yeah, you could. I always give this really good analogy whenever I'm feeling upset or I have friends who are upset. I hear this analogy of like you imagine yourself in a car and you can either be on the roadside crying and you're on the roadside and the car's not moving, or you could be moving forward in the car, crying at the same time, but you're at least you're moving forward to the next junction. And I'd
Yes,
rather be crying moving forward
100%. That's a great
because
analogy. And if you want to
yeah,
be on the road, I think you need a little bit of help, don't you?
yeah. Yeah, because you need the AA to come, right? That's your friends, your family, and that's totally fine for a little bit and stuff, but you can't stay on the side road forever. And
No,
so
you'll
that's
be
my
getting it by
analogy.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my analogy to always keep moving forward because what else is there to do in life? When you have grief, when you have a breakup, when you have like something didn't go right with your work or whatever, you always have to keep moving forward, even if you're crying in your car, because you'll get to the next junction, but you won't get to the next
Yeah.
junction unless you're on the roadside.
Very good. I like it.
Mm. So tell me okay, so you are a casting director, which is
Mm.
we've had previous casting directors on the show. I find your role deeply fascinating for a number of different reasons, mostly because of like the psychological thing, because you're like basically working with people like basically therapists. You're basically in my head, you're like a therapist working with people, and because also actors are like emotional creatures. And so I find the role, and also it's such a hard job, like kind of like set designers, I find, and stylists, they're hard jobs as well because you're navigating so many different sort of energies. You're like juggling different things. Sometimes cast can take forever. You can go around the world cast. I mean, it's a hard job as well. And so I'm fascinated by your role, but also what I'm fascinated is how you got there, why you went into casting, and how it did it work. Because everyone has their own journey, and also everyone sometimes it just happens to them; they fall into things, which I'm fascinated. But I read that obviously you was a stage hand, so you was in the technical side of things behind the scenes. So how did it all start from the beginning for you?
I suppose the end of the story starts at the beginning in its own weird way because I've never really truly thought about my next stage in life. you know, life just happens to you. So if you just so when I went to university, I was always brought up loving the arts, books, theatre especially. But where I come from a little place called Elgin, the northeast of Scotland. There was no access to any of the books, of course, but there was no real theatre. And we had a little music Murray theatre group that we were part of. That Kevin McKidd randomly was there as well. He was from Elgin, from Grey's Anatomy, and you go to university. I studied English, because I enjoyed theatre, you end up becoming part of those societies and you end up putting on plays, putting on musicals. And then, life just happens to you again. And the boys all went into finance and the girls all went, I think I want to be in what marketing. That sounds okay. You don't know anything about it. And I had applied as you do again, not really thinking about it, read Cosmopolitan magazine, saw that there was a journalism scholarship, applied for it, but then ended up working. I didn't get it, but was working. I went to work at Cosmopolitan in the summer holidays and stayed with a friend who came from London. I didn't want to be in the magazine world. I didn't do any of it to become that thing. It just happened to, a whim of a day. But then I think I've got the type of brain that any whims I put 100% into, and it can be they never none of them ever connect. And so I'd finished my 4 years at university. I didn't really know what I was going to do. But I knew that I loved theatre more than anything, and that's really truth and film, but mostly theatre. So I remember thinking, you know what? When I was trying to direct at university, and it was at the time I went to St Andrews, we didn't have a theatre. The bar was being refurbed with a grant, so we didn't even have a theatre. We did everything in a students' union, like literally a hall. And I had visions of things that I wanted to do, but I was consistently told no by people. Like, no, you can't do that. And I knew deep down is that you can do it. I just don't know. I'll do it myself, but I just don't know how to. So I remember that feeling really strongly of just being told no for very simple things because people couldn't be arsed. So I remember thinking, okay, I love theatre and I want to be a theatre director. That's what I want to do, but I don't know how to do it. And if I do it, I'd like to know what the nuts and bolts of that is to be able to go further with it. I like knowing why and how when I ask for something. And so I asked my parents, poor parents, one last time. I was like, please, can you just indulge me? I really want to go and study a stage management and technical theatre course at Lambda, which was, along with RADA, the best at the time. And my parents said yes. And it was another 2 year course. I came to London. I studied stage management and technical theatre purely so that I could become a theatre director. I chose that over the director's course. And I learned so much. And I learned so much about myself as well, if I'm honest. And again, life just happened to you. So I ended up getting a scholarship halfway through. My parents were very grateful. And then it got to the end of that period at Lambda, and I had done quite well, and I was offered a deputy stage manager job straight out of university. Sorry, out of Lambda with a director who'd worked at the school. And I bypassed 5, 6 years work of stage management work and went straight in as a DSM at the English Touring Theatre. And off I went on tour. And then because I did that, someone offered me a job at the Royal Shakespeare Company. And off I went and did that for a season. And then off the back of that, I was offered rent in the West End. So I did that. And then one day I woke up and I didn't have a job to go to. And I was like, whoa, when did I become a stage manager? I'm neither, I learned a lot. I learned a lot. But I was like, I'm not directing. I don't know what's happened. Oh my goodness. And then in the same thought, I was like, oh God, I need money for rent. And my flatmate at the time had just started United, which was PFD back in the day. And she was like, well, I know a casting director that's looking for an assistant. And 2 days later, 3 days later, I'm at the Hubbards as a casting assistant.
And we've had them on the show. Good old Dan Hubbard.
Yeah, Dan was my boss and good friend. And they taught me everything. And yeah, and that just continued and continued. So you see what I mean? Everything was just a catalogue of, I wonder if. But I think it's testament that if you just do the wonder if with 100%, it takes you somewhere eventually.
But it seems
Um,
like it just sort of just happened. Like doors opened. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I'm being very, very lucky. I've worked really hard. I've worked really, really hard.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't tend to do stuff by half. I'm a bit obsessive about things.
Hmm.
Weirdly becoming a casting director sort of united many things that I'm very passionate about, getting to go to the theatre as much as we do for free in the capacity of which we do, with agents and go and meet the actors and have it's a real privilege to go backstage and talk to the actor about their performance after, and knitting that together with being part of storytelling. I mean, yes, I've ended up telling story on television, not on stage, but can't win them all.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like a nice mix though. It's like when people like film directors become or start off as runners, right? And they learn the etiquette on set before they get into sort of being leadership roles, right? Your experience being a stage manager in theatre, how the dynamics will work with who directors and actors and having that experience. And then when you go into casting, you're like, oh, okay, I've used that. Again, it's always about your previous experience. How do you use that to then they help you with what you do now? But I think if you maybe just went straight into casting, obviously you would have bypassed all the things that you learned how all the workings work and working with actors, obviously not directly with them per se in the creative team, but indirectly from a stage management point of view. So that's quite interesting how it all just seamlessly worked that way. And then also like to land like a job at Hubbard Casting, which you couldn't get any better because they're like legendary. Both
Yeah.
the Amy and Dan and also their parents, right? So you can't really land anything better than that.
No, it was, I think I walked in, they were all there at the time. And I walked in Charlotte Street and I think I was thrown straight in. They were doing the final round of orcs for Lord of the Rings. So you had people like Ricky Gervais and like Simon Pegg and people like that just like coming in and they were just putting their voice, because it's just voice, obviously,
Hmm.
just chucking their voices down. And I was like, what? Well, this is an insane world. So I was thrown into the deep end and it was great. But I think because I'd spent quite a lot of time in performance spaces and rehearsal rooms as a DSM, then I had the pleasure to watch really fantastic theatre directors at work. So now, when it came to taking casting sessions myself, I'm very, very happy with directing actors in casting sessions, which is, I hope, super useful to them. I
Yeah.
find it a very natural space to be in. Maybe I will direct one day, but you never know.
I mean, who is it? Ava, do what's her name? The filmmaker, Ava. She did PR for a long time. She had her own PR company for like a
Yeah.
long time before she did her first feature. So,
Mhm.
Matt, you do casting and then you then go, well, I know everyone now, so I can just actually have a handpick of talent and go and direct something. So,
Yeah, I had a young guy who worked for me for a while on Bridgerton for ages, very smart guy, who I'm sure you wouldn't mind me saying he was an actor, but then he ended up doing the tools and then came into casting, and now I believe has got a show in development that they've written and they were working on for a long time and just like, really focusing on it, worked super hard, and we'll probably be getting that made a pilot of it, and is now hopefully where they wanted to be as a director of a very, very cool type of television. So
yeah.
castings are really, there's lots of stage managers in casting.
Oh,
It's,
really?
yeah, Vicky Thompson and Gary Davey, they were all stage managers. There's more than that, but yeah,
Really? I didn't know that.
I think it's kind of a transferable skill because stage managers, you have to deal with, for want of a better word, a lot of shit, and you just get on with it. And I think casting, the element of us and the being in the middle and just making things happen miraculously is a real skill.
Hmm.
Um, and
It-
not we are we are quite often the head of department who are in the shadows as well. We've been the last to be recognized by major bodies, and our theatre friends still aren't, which is ridiculous. We're the ones that walk into the rap parties and people are like, who's that? Because
It's so true though, isn't that crazy? Like people like, but you guys are like so important to the whole process.
we're
But
in
then
for.
you wouldn't know like I got a friend who's like head of casting at Netflix, but like I think people would know her face, but like maybe most people wouldn't know, but she's like integral to the whole Netflix thing. And it's just like it's so fascinating.
I think you have to be a certain type of person as well to do that. Like, I'm very happy being in the shadows, by the way. I did a TV show myself called Bring the Drama on BBC Two last year. That last year, it came out this year. And fascinating experience being on the other side of the camera. I did not enjoy it, by the way. I actually thought it was quite fun. It was really interesting being that focus of attention. Found it a very and I saw what it was like to be brought things and to be given cars and to have, if I needed something, like I would leave a phone charger when we were out on location, and I was like, oh my God, I've lost my phone charger. I knew a phone charger would be with me within 20 minutes. Like, I don't mean me clicking my fingers. I mean, like, the speed at which people fix problems on my behalf was unbelievable. And I was like, gosh, I could get used to this.
I love
And
it.
after and
I
after a
really
couple
enjoy
of months,
it.
yeah, and after a couple of months, I found myself little thoughts would creep in. I was like, why is my Uber not here? I've been waiting. Like, it just started to drop in. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And I also get why actors ask for certain things now, like the no waiting times. And I was like, okay, I get it. I understand now.
Because life is hard, and if you can make it a little bit easier with like things like that, then do it. Do you know what I mean? Life is already hard anyway. So as long as you're not a diva and you're
Mm.
still humble and you do all that sort of thing and you're kind to
And
everyone and stuff.
I also understood that because I never understood why people are like, why do you need time off? Why do you need a break from filming? Surely that's the job and you get it done. Um, and then I realized that yes, I only had X amount of days over, like, say, 3 months. I didn't really go home because you couldn't go home and relax and come back and start again get picked up at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning to get into makeup. I was like, wow, I really do understand that if you're hired, that's you. That's you're not really going home. You're not relaxing. You're not going to family barbecues or, the important stuff in life. So it was a really good lesson, but I'm very happy to be back in the shadows after that.
Yeah.
It was fun.
But it's so I think about that with directors when they talk about, like, you think of like a Hollywood Report and the Round Table, and then they're talking about like doing
Mhm.
two films like a year, for example, right? And it's hardcore. Like, if you're doing 25 days or 30 days or 45 days or 50 days or whatever that might be, right? That's every single day. And then you maybe go straight into the post and you're like, that's really tiring. And then I remember it was like Quentin Tarantino and another director was talking about, like, talking to Ridley Scott about the idea of, like, how do you keep yourself, not just how do you direct, how do you keep yourself mentally fit and physically fit to sustain
Mm.
20, 40 days? Because it's like it's quite a lot in your body, mentally and physically. It's a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, I think actors have a hard job. I get it.
Yeah.
It's exhausting and you have to leave things behind. So could I do it? Well, I can't because I'm absolutely awful. An awful, awful actor.
But you work with some great talent though. So I think
Yeah,
you've got like a really good eye for doing what you do, and you're very good at what you do. So do you know what I mean? It's all these the where does your skill set, like, where's you go? And there's that saying, isn't it? Don't follow your dreams, follow what you're good at. And then that becomes your dream. Because if I wanted to, I'd love to become a singer, but I can't sing. So um, sometimes you follow up what you're good at, and then that becomes your thing because it blossoms because that's what you're good at.
I totally agree. And I'm really lucky that I'm really proud of where I've got to in our industry. And it work 100% doesn't define me. It never has done. And I think my friends would probably agree with that. It's not, yeah, we talk about work, we're in friendship groups because I do have a lot of friends who are casting directors and who are actors and agents. And we do it's a moan, really. It's really what it is. It's just a good old moan.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm really proud of what we've got to. But it's I don't stop and think, oh wow, that's your name up there, or gosh, you're on set on some of the biggest shows in the world, or and that's not me being humble, that's just genuine. Like, there are more important things in life than that. But that's easy for me to say given that I'm lucky enough to be here.
Yeah. Because so my question is the whole pivot from going from Dan, well, so from the Hubbards, right, to then now working on Bridgerton, Wheel of Time. I think Gangs of London you've also done as well. How did you pivot to go, I'm going to do my own thing, and then being to get those big, because obviously, like, it's like breaks. How did you get that break to get that one big show or that one thing that then got you to the other things?
At the time when you're working with people like the Hubbards and then on to Gail Stevens, you're not thinking, certainly back then it was very different than it is now. And I think we're very different as people as well. I You just went to work every day and you did your best. There wasn't really a thought of one day I'll be my own casting director, which is definitely the way the younger ones think now. They're very much on they know what they're doing and they're marking their paths, and that's fine. We just wanted to get through the day back then. And it was a lot more glamorous back then as well. There was a lot more parties and going to the Groucho and singing at the piano, and it was more fabulous. And that you were happy with that. So I actually left the Hubbards because I genuinely, actually, funnily enough, I was at a point where I nearly put a play on that I'd been working with a guy called Dan Rosen in the States. And I really wanted the space to be able to do that because casting, as you know, is full on, especially when you're an assistant and an associate. And then that didn't really work out. And I was lucky enough to get a job with Gail Stevens. And that's when she did Slumdog Millionaire. So again, you're going into really fantastic work. So you're learning again and again. You're not really thinking about, oh, when I'm a casting director, you just think about getting through that day and that week. But then things happen to you organically. You start getting closer to maybe younger producers or lower budget projects want to give people a break and technically don't want to pay as much. So they want to get the juniors in who know what they're doing, but they don't necessarily need the big name on the person's name that's on the front door, so to speak. they'll be happy with the engine within it. And you naturally sort of move on. And if I'm completely honest with you, I went through a really, really tough part personally in my life, which I don't mind like speaking about, when I realized that, yeah, I think I'm gay. And I had to come out to my parents, and it was really, really tough. And my work probably did suffer because I was all over the place. And I won't get into that side of things too much, but it was difficult. And that all came at a point where I did no left Gales, and I probably wasn't serving her as well as I should have been. If I'm honest, now that I look back at it, I think I probably had dropped the ball because my head was elsewhere. I was a mess. And yeah, I started out by myself, and this is now I start answering your question. So I find myself going from some of the biggest shows in the world, TV shows and films, actually, more back then. I did more film, and being part of like the top part of casting directors to nothing. And I was in my, thankfully, I'd managed to get my parents help me out, and I did have my own flat by this point that I could rent out and made ends work that way. But I had zero income, and all of my contacts vanished. There were no theatre invitations. People were kind, obviously, but you just went completely and utterly quiet. And I actually, at the time, and it was okay to do it at the time, I used to do acting one-on-ones with actors for like 30 quid, as much as I could just to get money. And some of the bigger agents would send me clients as well that were really struggling, and they would come up to my I don't think I would be allowed to do it now, I'm not sure, but and we would spend hours talking about it. It would be, that's how I made money. And truthfully, it all turned round through the kindness of Lucy Bevan, who,
Oh, Lucy Bevan. Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Lucy, who I sort of knew, not that well. She's more of a friend of mine. Actually, funnily enough, the girl that I lived with, who gave me the first, the inn and the Hubbards in the first place. She's called
Hmm.
Olivia. And Lucy, I think she got pregnant again, and she'd been on a film. She had two films, and she suggested me to both of these producers, and they both took me on. And I got my first two independent films. But up until that point, I actually had met on a TV show that was actually about gay women, and I think lots of agents had said to the producer, "Oh, you should see Kelly Hendry for that. She's perfect." And I did meet on it, and they were very kind. Said, "Look, we'd love to give you the job, but we just don't feel that you're experienced enough yet." Which at the time I was like, "What? I've been, you know, running high-end shows. I know how to do this. It's just my name wasn't on the door." So anyway, Lucy gave me these two, passed on these two films. They paid me absolutely appallingly, but I managed to get myself a desk rental within an office with Debbie Allen, who's an agent, who's now
Yeah,
at Curtis Brown.
yeah,
She had desk spare, and I rented myself a desk. And I don't think I made any money because I think it cost me as much to do those jobs as I was paid. But that was the start. And then you got an assistant for a little while to help you. And then that builds on that. So that was the pivotal point, was the
yeah.
kindness of Evan, to be fair. And then hopefully I did it, and then, me being able to do the job.
Well, it's always the thing is like there's that saying, isn't it? If you're lucky to get up the elevator, you send it back down. So most people uh get those breaks because someone in another room says this person's really great. I think that's generally how it kind of works. Like you need someone higher up to vouch for you to say, I can't do it. Can this person could do it? You generally need those sort of people because it's really difficult to move up the ladder unless you have those people who are your champions.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. So I mean, I've thanked Lucy since, but um, yeah, that was the pivotal moment. And then, to be fair, it's sort of then to continue the story. I find it very lonely being by myself doing these shows, and as many casting directors on this podcast will have attested to, it's a really stressful job. It shouldn't be. You'd never guess it is, but it's off the chart stressful,
Of course, yeah.
and you need people to bounce off, and it's really lonely sometimes. So my very good friend Victor Jenkins was a casting director, and he was sort of, I think, felt he was maybe in a bit of a rut as well. And I was like, look, I've got a couple of projects, just about starting them. Why don't you just come and be my partner? Come and be my business partner. I haven't been paid on them yet. 50-50, let's go. And he did. And so we started VHJ casting, and and that's when it really kicked off for us, because again, it's not kindness, more, maybe it's savviness, but Jane Featherston gave us a lift up and gave us Broadchurch. Two young, upstarts, I guess, who had CVs, but all assistant associate work. And she could have given Broadchurch to anyone. And it's quite something now when I think back that she took a chance on, would have been I mean, it's still one of my best and biggest shows I've ever done. But to
Did you
take a
ever ask
chance.
her?
No, I've never asked her. No, never asked her why she did that. Which is, yeah, I should do. I don't want to know, maybe. Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to.
No, but she might
Uh,
just say, I wanted to give it, I liked your work and I want to give you guys a break.
well, yeah, and we were brand new, really. So she gave us that, and that's what really set us off. And all of a sudden, we had projects. But life goes on, and we had that company for ages, and we were doing so well. But then I met my wife to be, and my life changed personally, and I just wanted autonomy, really, and I just wanted to be able to do my own thing. So we ended that relationship. It's all fine. Victor, I've just been on holiday with him. He's like a brother to me. It's all fine. The whole industry was like, what happened? The politics of casting. Why have they split up? And everyone was like, no, it's just because, you know, it was time to do that. And it was a good thing.
Is
Um,
it because you want to move somewhere else, or you just want to do? Because sometimes these relationships happen, these business partners, because taste of
no,
projects.
no, not even that. It was all there is a small bit of, and I noticed it more in America. It used to annoy me that people used to think it was his business because he was the man in the partnership. And I'm not sure if I've ever even said that to him, but I could what sometimes in American meetings, I'd be like, okay, I'm here. So there was a little bit of that, but it's not his fault. It's just,
It's just
but
the society.
that's not the reason. The reason was is that I moved on. I just wanted control. I just wanted my own finances. I just wanted to be in charge of my own life. And I genuinely thought I was going to pull back a little bit as well and maybe just do a little bit less. And, I was in love. I was getting married.
Yeah.
And I did, even I live in Whitstable, but I left London very shortly after that. But I did have to start again because all of a sudden I was back by myself. I had zero work and there was nothing coming in. And I can remember being offered Gangs of London and crying, bursting into tears in an airport, the relief of
Of getting that
of
job.
that was a
Yeah.
huge move for me. And from that moment on, it's just sort of gone like that, thankfully. And I've grown.
I think we've all had moments where I was literally saying to someone the other day about um God or the higher power or universe, whatever anyone ever categorizes it. But when you're at the edge of I just don't know what to do or I'm going to give up. I've heard it from many actors and many creators and many people from different industries that the brink of like the cliff thing, for some random reason, the opportunity lands in your doorstep.
Mm.
I remember, I think it was like 2015. I was outside the H Club and I think I had like £500 in my bank, and I was just like, and I had like lost like three jobs, and I was just like, it's so hard. Oh, I was on the phone to my mum, and then bing, the job comes through for like a campaign for like this big fashion thing, and I'm like, okay, that's great. So
Thank God
it,
for that. Yeah.
yeah, do you know what I mean? It's just like those moments just to keep you in the game, and that was a moment for you, the Gangs of London, that you needed that sort of that win just to like keep you going and stuff. It's just
I
so many
needed
stories
it
I
so
hear.
much. I felt like I was about to disappear, but to get that job, I flew back from maybe I was in Scotland visiting parents, but I remember flying back early and meeting on it. I was so prepared for that meeting, probably more prepared for than I have ever been when I've pitched for a job. Like I had dissected every borough of London and knew exactly what the makeup of that borough was, like whether it was Nigerian or whether it was predominantly Chinese, or I knew it all. So that when we were talking about what London was going to look like, I had facts and figures. Not that I explicitly like presented anything, but I knew it.
Mm.
And I really, really worked hard to get that. So if I hadn't got it, I think it would have gone the other way. I think I would have been even more depressed because there would have been nothing more
That you could have
that I could
done.
have done to get it. But I think I got the job. It's the invisible hand, is what I call it. And I think I got the job because I had done a job. a film with Dan Hubbard years ago called The Fall. And in The Fall, we'd cast a guy, an actor, well, he's quite famous now, called Lee Pace. This was ages ago. If you haven't seen The Fall by Tarsem Singh, it is beautiful. Please watch it. And Gareth, we were talking about, I can't remember which role it was, but Gareth, he's like, I'm going to reference a really random movie that you'll never have seen, Kelly. And there's an actor in it called Lee Pace. And I was like, is it The Fall? And he was like, yes. I was like, I worked on that. And he was like, oh my God, I'm going to fan over you now. Even though it was Dan's project, we still worked on it. And he knew all about that. And I wonder if it was that moment where he decided, oh, there was the connection, you know?
360 moment.
So,
A
yeah,
360 moment. It's right. And then
yeah.
so cut from Gangs of London then to like Bridgerton, which most people
Hmm.
know. How did that come about?
Um, Okay, so the Bridgerton thing is really interesting because I still to this day don't know how this happened. But I get a call saying that I think somebody, funnily enough, it may have been at Kudos when we did Grantchester and because we did loads of shows over there on the run up to this because I was busy. And I think somebody had suggested me, somebody somewhere maybe had moved over to Netflix. I don't know how it happened, but somebody suggested me to whoever at Shondaland and Netflix. And I get you get when a project comes along, it comes to you, I suppose, like an actor in different ways. One, you get a straight offer of like it's usually someone going, I'd love you to do this for me. Are you free? And you say yes, and you've got the job, and it's not an interview, there's nothing, there's no meeting. Or you get a hey from someone and you know that it's a meeting and there's maybe three or four other casting directors getting seen for the job and you've got to win it. Or there's the full on, like, I go after something and then you have to really go and get it. And that's the three ways normally how I can get a job. Um, and you really rely on the repeat business. So you have to do a good job. But with Bridgerton, yeah, I got the feeling I was like, am I pitching or is this like oh, we hear this person's good. We really want to work with her. Let's just have a chat with her. So before I know it, I quickly go and get the book and I find it and I'm like, wow, okay, this is not my cup of tea, really. Like, I would never read this type of stuff, but I've always wanted to do a bonnet. And this is okay, fine. You don't know when something's going to, it's talking in hindsight because you don't know at that point. Of course, I did not know that it was going to be what it was going to become. And I had a meeting with Shondaland and it went really well. And again, it still didn't feel particularly like a prove yourself to me type of meeting. And then they were like, yeah, we'd love you to do it. And the job was mine. I still don't really understand how it was that easy. And the next thing I'm doing Bridgerton.
Then it becomes a very big show.
And it turns into kind of like a genre. Like, I don't know, I mean, it's massive.
Yeah. How did you deal with the success of it personally from a personal point of view and also career point of view?
It's a Bridgerton is a really, and Wheel of Time is the same actually, because what happened whilst I was doing these shows, coming to the end of them, I herniated a disc. This is important. Okay, so I herniated a disc so badly in an airport, carted out in an ambulance, I couldn't walk. And I did quite a lot of it lying on the floor but I'd also decided to sell London. And I was living in a tiny cottage here in Whitstable, trying to buy this house that I'm sitting in right now.
Right.
So my life was a complete mess. I was in so much pain. The only thing that was getting through it, I was on so much medication, but work was getting me mentally through the day. And my office really stepped up to help as well, which is amazing, which is why I love my office so much. Um, and so you do Bridgerton, and then I'm starting to heal, and we head into lockdown. So I'm stuck in the cottage, not that particularly mobile, with a show like Bridgerton sort of in the can. Is that right? Yeah, that would be right. And then it comes out in lockdown when you're not around people. This thing happens in your living room. And then you end up, and then I got Emmy nominated, which is again another pivotal moment because I can't I actually can describe what happened with that moment because you get Emmy nominated for something. There's something that releases inside you, like a relief or something is the best way I can describe it. And all of a sudden, you feel nothing but pride in anyone. The pressure is off, if that makes sense, because it's not about winning awards, and we all say that, but it really is lovely. And you do get a bit jealous when other people do, and you're like, why is this not happening to me? What have I done? Why is it personal? Have I done something? The minute you are nominated or you do that, there's something you relax and I'm just being completely honest with you. There's something really beautiful about then realizing and recognizing jealousy and putting down other things just because yeah, again, jealousy, and then you get this moment of recognition, even a nomination. Automatically you're so delighted for anyone else that like it happens to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really, I'm just being honest, and you just, I never ever ever again have been like, oh, for God, really? Why has that not happened to me? And it's a really nice feeling to feel really genuinely happy for others.
Yeah. 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 Well, it's the whole thing about what you're clapping for other people. Like,
Yeah. And you know how it feels, and you're like, it's happened to me, it's done. I've got it. I know what it feels like. I'll never chase that. And of course, then it was the year at the Emmys that you couldn't really go. It was shut down. So I did it from this room in my pants. And I didn't care. Well done, Robert, for the crowd. But yeah, it was a really lovely moment, and I'm really honored. My family and my friends. It was just really, really fantastic thing to happen, and it never needs to happen again now. I know what it feels like, and it'd be nice. But yeah, that moment's done, and
yeah.
that was a
I
really big
I feel
moment.
I feel so sorry for people in COVID who got nominated or any of those sort of things that they've been chasing their dreams and then suddenly they're doing it from a house. Um,
Yeah.
and also like people like who had TV shows that were or things that they've worked on for years and then they didn't get the reaction from live people.
Yeah.
It's because the reason why we do it, or the reason why I do what I do, is to change people's lives, is to really see people be changed in a good way, their perspective. But when
Yeah.
you're in COVID and you've worked years, you're just in a seeing it on TV, and that's why some people really prefer cinema to
Mm.
sometimes to TV, is because you're in a group experience watching something all together. When you're at home, you're just by yourself having an individual experience. So it's a bit different. But I feel sorry
Yeah.
for people who went through COVID and spent years making these shows and stuff, and then suddenly so they're by themselves, only watching the comments online.
Yeah, and I know exactly how that feels because, of course, that happens. Then, we get to our Casting Directors Guild Awards, and then I get COVID and I don't go. We win. I've
Oh
never won
wow.
anything in
Oh
life
wow,
apart from
okay.
a watermelon spitting contest on a beach in Malaga when I was like 8. And I win, and I'm not there to get it. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is amazing, but I wasn't there. And then it continues like, so yeah, Wheel of Time. We'd worked so hard on that, and then to fly out to Prague to go to the big read through. That's the day that my back went in there, so I couldn't make it for that. Then with Rivals out at the moment, I got pneumonia, and I've just recovered from it, so I couldn't go to any of the galas or any of the screenings or any of I went to one ages ago, which was amazing, but the big, the release of Rivals, like what was it, a month ago,
Mhm.
which is really, oh my God, I'm so proud of that show. And yeah, I couldn't go to any of the things because yeah, I had pneumonia. I was like, what is happening here? Like
It will
when
pick
will
up in the next probably year, 2 years. You'll just go to everything.
do you know what? Maybe I don't want to go to it. Maybe that's my invisible hand going, it's all right, Kels, didn't go to the CDG AGM last night because I'm not well. And oh God, it continues.
It continues.
Maybe I
But
shouldn't work so hard. Maybe that's what the world is telling to me is to slow down.
slow down, slow down. Don't be in a hurry, as they
Yeah.
will say. But so do you prefer doing TV to doing film projects? I mean, you mostly, I mean, I think would rightly say most people know you for doing TV shows.
Yeah. I started in film, and and then the television was much more appealing because back in the day you would get a TV show and it was already greenlit and it would come to you, and that was your job, and you just start your middle end, and you knew exactly what you were doing, you knew what the money was, and you knew where you were financially. And then the beast happened and television became massive, and then the film, I think it was maybe Maggie Gyllenhaal maybe coming in and doing her TV show. I remember everyone sitting back going, "Oh my God, they've got a movie star on television." And then it just blew up. And look at it now. I mean, the fact that it says, "Oh yeah, sure, Kate Blanchett's on television." Nicole Kidman's on television. Of course they are. It's completely changed. So with that changed the process of working in television, which is now much more like making film because you're needing to cast to get the green light rather. So we're being brought on board really early on. We're doing our job, but not on starter fees. So on development that is more like doing a film and hoping that you manage to get someone. And of course, there's only a selection of financeable names out there. And because Apple and Netflix and whoever, they can if they want to stump up the cash, then you can go and get these bigger people, obviously with a good script and a great director. So television's become actually really, really challenging to work in as well, and casting's being put on years in advance. And as a financial model, as a casting director with members of staff, it can appear to the outside world that we are super, super, super busy at max, when actually what we're doing is, yes, we've got a roster, but none of them are actually happening. So it's actually, I'm finding it very difficult, if I'm honest, at the moment.
Everyone is.
And then, yeah, and we're really lucky. And I don't know how not to work like this. I don't know how to be quiet. So yeah, we just have to see every year, we just see through it, and you come to the end of the year and it's like, oh, I didn't think that would be the thing that went.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
that's the beauty of, thank goodness for these wonderful shows like Bridgerton and Gangs of London and Wheel of Time and
Hmm.
these returning shows that gives me security and gives my office security. And of course, I take huge amounts of pleasure in that. I feel really proud to be able to maintain, multiple people's lives like that. It's really important to me.
Yeah, I think we're just in a transition of understanding how the new business is going to work in entertainment across TV, film, advertising. It's in a real shift.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think there's obviously just an adjustment of like, what does the business model look like across all of these things? And obviously this year has been very challenging for most people across it all, and less shows being greenlit and less films being financed, and less brands paying for advertising and try to figure out where's the best for their dollars and their pounds. So I think it's just the whole world is just trying to figure out, and especially the entertainment industry, just trying to figure out that new business model, because it's been pushed by innovation, and then they've gone, oh, actually the old model actually did work financially, and now it's that this new model doesn't work. Okay, so how do we figure that out?
Nothing's safe. Things getting cancelled, like Chaos being cancelled was absolutely devastating for all of us.
Yeah, it was a very big shocker when that got cancelled.
Yeah, I'm so again, it's one of the best shows we've ever done, and I think it's cast really well, and it's cast with such an open mind for inclusion as well. Like there's so much opportunity in that show, and on top of the fact that it is beautifully written, everything about it is fantastic. I think it was just very expensive, but that was really devastating. I'm devastated for Charlie and the gang, but there we are. That's what happens.
Yeah, no one's safe. No
No
one's
one's
safe.
safe. No one's safe. It's a show with Jeff Goldblum, and it was brilliant. And
Yeah, but I think it's like it shows like shrinking, right? It's really not that costly to make, but it's a great show. Ted Lasso, not that costly to make, but really, really great. Like it's those type of shows that are maybe getting looked at, but like the bigger shows which cost like 250 million, 300 million, it's just the economy just
mm,
can't take many shows like that, maybe one or two or three. But it's about how do you make good content for less money.
yeah, yeah,
And that's
exactly. Look at we do well, it's gone now, but Ghosts was one of our best shows, and that's not an expensive show, but
mm,
it looks beautiful. It is brilliant, and our cast budgets were always absolutely tiny on that, and that's the show that people love, quite
mm.
rightly. There we are. It's
Yeah,
changed.
and I was listening to a podcast with the creators of industry, and they're doing their third season or just finished their third season. And people are like, "Oh, you're getting more money." You're like, "No, got the same money,
Probably
same
less.
money, or maybe less to create an even better show."
Mm.
So then the demands are greater, more people want more things, but you haven't got more money to play with, and that's just sometimes how it is usually at the moment. Used to be do better, more money, do better, more money, and now unfortunately it's not like that now. And everyone's just trying to figure out the financial. model that. But that's the world we're in. But hopefully by 2025, it will pick up. It will pick up and it will get better.
It's doing so well for the world. Yeah,
Well,
20.
what is down must go up. Do you know what I mean? That's how I see it. What goes down must come up at some point.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but so before we finish our episode, what I love to do is ask my guests a give back. What would you give back to your younger self or someone listening that would be an inspiration?
An inspiration. So if I'm looking back at my younger self, my young Kelly in Elgin, who thought that Aberdeen was the answer to everything and that that was what was I going to do? I had no idea. And if I could say to you, continue to do what you love. And those nights that you used to stay up and sit in front of the telly and watch the Oscars and think, never not think it was possible. If I could say to her then, I would be like, it's gonna be okay. And you just have to keep on doing what you love doing. And one day it will all make sense. And you will in return give something back. You know what? The truth is, I sleep at night. Like I'm okay. And it's always been okay. So I think all this stuff would be more personal if I'm honest. Like, like it doesn't have to be about being thin and it doesn't have to be about being beautiful. You know what I mean? All those things as a young girl. That's the stuff that takes up space in my head, not work, not the work just gets done. So I'd say it was more personal stuff. But I would, you know, I have, and I've made a real point of thanking my parents and my grandparents and all, for allowing me to be the person who I am in every shape. Take my mom taking me down to the theatre to London because it was, like I said, there wasn't anything, taking me to London and showing me aspects of love and cats and showing me what the world can be like when you come from a tiny little place. So it's kind of not really answering your question, but
No, it definitely is. I think there's something about just saying thanks to the people that support around you and your growth. My parents
yeah.
also the same thing, were very big theatre people. So I watched Les Miserables many, many times and Cats and all these brilliant theatre pieces, which have shaped me today because I love theatre. But it wouldn't be without my parents. I think so. The lasting sort of impression is to say thanks to people that give you the support to help you grow and watch you thrive and make you grow in the right direction and allow you to go into the spaces that you need to go.
Hmm. I totally agree. In a world of no's is those wonderful yeses that have shaped my life with a bit of hard work in the middle
Indeed.
and
Well,
luck.
I want to say thank you so much for coming on 360. You have been 360'd. Thank you very much.